Okay, so not many people realise that the 7 men that they rammed into and made out with terrorists have been released, and the Sydney police, or the police that pulled this off, could be getting sued for an overreaction. But is an overreaction better than an underreaction? For instance, at the massacre in Bondi, why wasn't there any security around those 1,000 Jewish people in the, I think, well, however many Jewish people were at that Hanukkah? The police used their resources on these Palestinian protests, knowing the risks of a large Jewish amount of people congregating in a park under the atmosphere in Australia at the moment. Why wasn't there more police just floating around that? Well, we'll never know the answer to that. But here's an episode of an overreaction, which I believe probably better than an underreaction, but it's not good for them. Now we've got the Muslim population wondering how they're going to be treated. You see how it all goes skew-if because of radical jihadist Islam. Now the Muslims themselves, the ones that are peaceful, like the man that disarmed one of the shooters during the massacre, they're the ones that are going to suffer. And just let me say, apparently a month before that man disarmed the shooter, they shut down, or something happened with his business. The government affected his business, but I guess he's fixed that up now with the $2.5 million check for his bravery, which, you know, he rightly deserves, I would say. Anyway, this is what's happened, and this is where we're up to in Australia. And I don't think you can blame the police at the moment, but they've got to get this right. Australia hasn't got the intelligence and awareness of Israel and these other Middle Eastern countries about how radical and fanatical Islam jihadism can go.
Arrested and released by counter-terrorism police in Sydney South West have said they plan to sue New South Wales Police for damages. The lawyer for the men, Ahmed Dib, says the men were unfairly targeted after their 2 cars were rammed during the arrest in Liverpool Thursday evening. The men have denied any wrongdoing and claimed they were in Sydney for a holiday. 7 men detained by counter-terrorism police in South West Sydney have now been released following allegations they were on their way to potentially carry out an attack. But their lawyer now says the group is considering suing police over their injuries and damage to their vehicles.
For more, we're joined by security expert Neil Fergus. Neil, do we know what intelligence the police actually had on these men to detain them even in the first place?
We don't know the specifics. Commissioner Mel Lanyon and Deputy Commissioner Graham Hudson both said yesterday, in different ways, but they did not want to reveal the detail of the intelligence that was passed to them by another law enforcement agency, Victoria Police, because they didn't want to compromise any ongoing investigations or actions being done in that jurisdiction.
So when you're
what I want to know is, okay, the police have gone in full bore, they've rammed the car, were these people willing to pull over? Was there some kind of chase? Why weren't they? Did the police believe they were going to be shot or attacked on presumption? There's a lot of presumption going on here, and it's made to look like the government is acting accordingly. But if you're a Muslim, an average Muslim person being allowed to come into Australia and you're just going about your business and the next minute you're being rammed and handcuffed and all the rest of it on the assumption that you're about to carry out a terrorist act, then that's pretty heavy duty, isn't it? I mean, you've got to look at it the other side as well. I could easily be mistaken as an Islamic jihadist. I mean, I'm dark. I've got the goatee in that. If I'm just going training and the next minute I'm getting rammed and smashed and all the rest of it on the presumption that I'm a Islamic jihadist fanatical, That's not good.
Drawing some of the conclusions, you're putting together the pieces of the puzzle here. What's your assessment? What do you think they may have led?
Look at it. I mean, that's a military assault on civilians. See, this is where the other side of it's not going to work out either if the police are getting this wrong and the intelligence is wrong. How do you approach these people in a less destructive way on behalf of the police force or whoever that looks a lot more than a police force there. It's counter-terrorism squad. But I wouldn't want to be one of those people if I was just going about my business and the next minute, because I'm of a particular nationality or religious belief, getting thrown on the footpath and assaulted and rammed and all the rest. I mean, they got this, it appears that they've got this terribly wrong because there was no weapons or bombs or anything like that found. I mean, is there a better way of going about it?
Them to detain these men in the first place, because they've talked about a so-called commonality in thinking to the Bondi shooters. What does that indicate to you?
Certainly that they believe they shared the jihad.
Look at what they've done. I mean, were these people going to pull over? Did they ask them to pull over? Did they approach them in a way in which, you know, it was just going to be a stop? Or is this just some kind of a scene that the government's made as a declaration that, you know, we're going to do more on the cusp of, or on the post-massacre of Bondi? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that the way that the anti-terrorism squad's gone about this has been correct. It looks like it's been overdone.
Hardest ideology that the two murderers from Bondi last...
Look. All right, these people have been presumed guilty, severely guilty, on presumption. Based on association and nationality. I don't know if that's good. I don't think that's good. All right.
Sunday had, of course, sharing...
Would you like to be treated like that? Without... I mean, aren't you innocent until proven guilty? Who made this assumption?
An ideology doesn't mean you are going to carry out...
That guy's banged up. He's really banged up. He's got blood coming out of his head and everything. That's not right. I mean, okay, Jews have been massacred and all the rest of it, but don't forget, it was a Muslim man that disarmed one of the shooters. And if they're just choosing on assumption to run into cars and rip people out of cars and treat them like terrorists, only to find out that they're not, man, that's completely out of order. These guys here, these government workers, could be in a real lot of trouble based on the presumption, based on complete and utter presumption. See, this is the other side of it. It's not an easy game to play. It's not an easy Islam, jihadism, because it's so covert, right, and so dangerous and so spur of the moment. It's not an easy problem to resolve. That's why the Albanese government should never have allowed any of these protests or anything of the rest of it. They should have just shut it all down immediately and left the fear in the jihadists based on the laws of our society. But our society, our government was too weak. It indirectly encouraged on cognitive dissonance, lack of response, to allow a massacre, jihadist massacre, to manifest. So now on the other side of it, you've got Muslims that possibly could be completely innocent, getting rammed, I mean, this guy's smashed up, getting thrown on the footpath like they're terrorists. Well, that's not fair either, is it? Really, let's just be honest.
And as we now know, there were no weapons or any information in the car to indicate or prove that there was any attack in prospect. So, but you know what the Australian public expects, is, as I think the viewers know, is they need to action intelligence as and when they deem it appropriate for the protection of the public.
Yeah, as you point.
Okay, that's all well and good. These guys have not in any way turned out to be a threat to anybody at that time whatsoever. So we've got to ask ourselves as citizens of Australia, right, and trying to be fair, because I think Australia is a fair place, were these people asked to pull over? Or were they just rammed and smashed because of the over-enthusiasm and counter-response to the massacre in Bondi? I mean, it never made sense to me that there was a carload of Muslims, apparently jihadists or possible terrorists, driving to Bondi the day with all this going on. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, I'm not even a terrorist or a military person. You just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go back into a hornet's nest in the thick of it being aggravated. You just wouldn't do that. So here it'd be fair enough to say that the intelligence here and the way in which these counter-terrorist officers have responded has been way overkill and unfair on the Muslim community. Okay? I'm sorry, but that's just how it's totally unfair. Right? I don't believe that car was asked to pull over. I believe they were just rammed. You might say, well, you know, now you're on the other people's side. No.
Out there, people want to see something being done, and understandably emotions are very high at the moment, running extremely high, but that need for something to be done, for action to be taken, do you think that authorities maybe jumped the gun a little bit on detaining these men?
Hard for me to say, Michael.
No, absolutely they did. 100% they've jumped the gun. Right? And it's trying to send a message out that we will act. Now, this has happened in Palestine, where missiles have hit the wrong targets and people are being killed for the wrong reasons, and rightfully so. The pro-Palestinian people are standing up and protesting and saying it's wrong, and it is wrong. Here we have a micro-incremental parallel, right, where the Australian authorities have jumped the gun and got it wrong. And now, in a way, we're in damage control. But they've done it on the back of a major massacre. So this is why you've got to have order in your communities, in your civilization, because terrorism just wrecks everything. Okay? It wrecks everything. And I'm going to leave that there because he's not real sure. In no way am I undermining this person. But the truth of the fact of the matter is it's been an overreach. It's been an assault on what are people that haven't been proven to be guilty of anything. It's not fair on the Muslim society. And we need to be careful now how we treat people. Jihadism is going to have no respect for anybody except themselves. And I think in some way we've realised this. But on the other hand, there are Muslims that are good people and don't deserve to be treated like this on the back of presumption. And we need to be careful that this all gets sorted out right, because this is another part and another step in our country where we're not able to cope with this Middle Eastern mindset, the way this all works out. I mean, how would you like it if you were treated like that? Okay, there could be potential for these people to be terrorists, but at this point they're not. They're not. I'll leave you to think about this one, but to me, Australia is just not trained and able at this point and they need to listen to Benjamin Netanyahu and these people that have watched hundreds and thousands of people being killed by Islam jihadism, and how, see, on October 7th, Israel was caught off guard by a mass invasion and mass slaughter. We've just had 2 gunmen cause the biggest Jewish massacre in Australian history, which will tarnish Australia forever, particularly Bondi Beach. I mean, I can't even imagine it, living just up the highway from it. And now, with this influx, and Tony Burke and Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese they have to stop and say, look, we've completely messed this up with their immigration. Now we've got, such concern and alarm that we think we can go about running into people's cars and things like that because of presumption. No, it's not good enough for mine. I just don't think it's fair. So how are they going to get this right? They shouldn't have allowed people to come into the country unvetted in mass numbers. And they haven't done anything to stop it. The place needs to breathe. It needs to have a rest. We need to be able to get in order the immigration that we've allowed. Is it going to hurt anyone if we pause? No. But this government's not going to do it because it's a political agenda. There's cognitive dissonance relative to the fundamental activism beliefs in the leaders, particularly the Prime Minister. We're witnessing that. And now, as usual, people are going to suffer. Not only the innocent victims of a massacre and the anti-Semitism that will continue due to the Islam, but also what are possibly, presumably, innocent Muslims. And that's why Islam and its texts and its scriptures, and sadly, when you really get into the bottom of it and it requires jihadism, doesn't work. And that's all there is to it. I'm out, viewers.